Hello, fellow humans. Chris here again. So, I want to talk about this Supreme Court thing. Um, I have talked about abortion before on this channel. I have shared my views. Um, I have done some satire on the subject as well, which some people may have not realized was satire at the time. Um, so, I've talked about the subject before. But I just had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to add today. Um, I realized over the last week, over some of the things that I've heard, some of the comments that I've seen made, some of the articles, like, for example, this one by Fox News, pro-abortion protesters march to homes of Justice Kavanaugh and Roberts in vigil for Roe v. Wade. Um, there's a couple things I want to address. The first off is it's a misnomer to call people pro-abortionists or abortionists. I know of very few people who are pro-abortion. If you think about how that sounds, right? That's like being for heart bypass. You know, it's about the choice. It's about believing in a woman's right to bodily autonomy, to control her own body. It's archaic to me that that is even an open topic for discussion. And I've said that before as well. But this idea that it gets kind of misrepresented as pro-abortion, I think that's important because there's a big distinction there, and this can get personal for me, and I'm not gonna go too personal on that, but it does bother me when it gets portrayed that way. Another thing that I see a lot is if you don't have ovaries or if you don't have a fallopian tube, keep your mouth shut about abortion, which makes sense. The only addendum to that, I would just say, if it's not your body, it's not your choice. Because I look at the numbers in the Gallup polls, more women are pro-choice than pro-life, yes, but it's not that huge of a margin. It looked like it was mid-50s, 55%, somewhere in there, pro-choice. Whereas with the entire population, it's about 52% pro-choice. So I wouldn't put too much stock in it being a woman. The point is, it's the woman's individual choice of her body, not society's, not all women. Again, it's just archaic to me that's still a discussion. There's a lot of different things that we can talk about with this issue. We could talk about the fact that the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be pro-choice by about a 2-to-1 margin. If you're college educated versus no college education, it actually swings completely the other way. 2-to-1 pro-life if you don't have a college degree. There's a lot of different things we could talk about. I just want to talk about that whole idea of pro-choice versus pro-abortion and pro-life. It's not about being pro-life. And that's the main thing that I've kind of come to realize, especially with the events of the last week and some of the things that I've seen people say. Because if it were really about being pro-life, if you put the 6-week fetus at the same level as life, as a full-grown human being, if that's your position, there's so many other things that we would have to have in place that you would have to believe in. Universal health care, universal pre-K, paid maternity and paternity leave, more enhanced welfare and social security programs, homeless shelters. You would have to be in favor of taking care of other human beings in a degree much, much higher than what we do as a society today here in the United States. Intellectually, for the sake of intellectual honesty and consistency, you would have to be so far to the left, by American standards anyway, left, for that to be intellectually consistent. Because if you believe in that life to the degree that you overtake, as the government itself inherently overtakes the will of a grown woman's physical body, that's how much you put stock in the life of that fetus, then you'd have to be completely anti-war. You'd have to be so far to the left on these other issues. You'd have to be pro-mask, pro-vaccine. You wouldn't be complaining about your kids having to wear masks at school to prevent super spreader events. You wouldn't be complaining and protesting about businesses closing because the risk of your grandmother getting sick and dying. Those things don't exist. Those things aren't presenting themselves in the United States that I'm seeing at a level of intellectual consistency with the idea of being pro-life. That's not happening. So until I talk to somebody who is intellectually honest about their belief that the life of the 6-week-old fetus is equivalent to any human life, this is not a topic for discussion, because it's not made in good faith. And you can debate with somebody and you can go down that road too, and you'll find that people that claim to be pro-life for that reason, for the actual real reason of being pro all life being the same at conception, not of pro controlling a woman's body, you'll find when you talk to those people that their arguments don't really hold up from a personal perspective. You can go down a series of questions and it's pretty easy to find that out. The one I always liked was the idea that if you had a house fire and there was a rack of 100 fertilized embryos and there was one newborn baby, and you had the option to save this entire viable set of human embryos or this one newborn baby, which one would you choose? Your answer to that question would display your intellectual honesty on this situation, on this question. So anyway, thanks for checking on me. I will catch up with you again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Remember, don't be afraid to question the consensus.